My queen of puddings, I suppose, is the Marie Antoinette version because I use brioche rather than breadcrumbs. Into a buttered oven-proof dish, add crumbs made from 150 grams of brioche. Then pour 500 ml of full-fat milk into a saucepan. Add 50 grams of soft unsalted butter, a teaspoon of vanilla, 25 grams of caster sugar and a pinch of salt. Then I add the finely grated zest of a lemon. This needs to be warmed through just until the butter has melted. Then take the mixture off the heat and add it to a bowl containing 4 egg yolks and whisk together. When everything is fragrantly combined, pour over the crumbs in their dish and leave for 10 minutes before baking in an oven at 170 degrees for 20 minutes. So the first layer has been baked and it's sat out a little and it's tender and soft but just set on the surface. But part of the majesty of Queen of Puddings resides in its gleaming, billowing meringue topping. So I'll get on with that. I just need to wait until the meringue is forming firm peaks. Perfect. So I'm going to add the sugar now. I've got 100 grams here for these 4 egg whites and full speed ahead. So that's the gorgeous and gleaming topping, and I've got the base, so now the middle layer. Not very arduous. I have some jam, plum jam I want, and I'm going to add some lemon juice, partly to make it a little more pourable and spreadable, but also because I need a little more acerbity. Look at this, so beautiful, positively regal. I want to spread it just lightly and gently on top. So that's all done, and now to dollop the meringue on top. And gentle dolloping, because I don't want to streak the jam through it. There we are. It's important to make sure the meringue topping goes to the edges. Just seals it. Now smooth the top gently. I don't want to pull the jam up. And then the bit I really enjoy, which is roughing it up a bit. So it has glorious swirly peaks. I want to sprinkle, got a little sugar left here just to sprinkle over. And when it bakes, the meringue is so light and soft and white within, and the surface is beginning to turn where the sugar catches in the oven, the palest copper beginning to crisp. Al forno. Here we are. Pudding. Queen of pudding.
Wow, that looks amazing.
Right, who's first? You?
Yes, please.
Of course.
Heaven.
Some ones.
Thank you.
That is amazing. Look at that. Oh, I love it with the brioche.
Chewy bit?
Can I take a chewy bit?
My carrot cake is relaxingly simple to make. Just a bowl and a wooden spoon number. I start off by coarsely grating 200 grams of carrots and chopping up 75 grams of crystallized ginger. Then I break up 100 grams of walnut halves into small pieces. Next, I want 200 grams of plain flour, half a teaspoon of bicarb, a teaspoon of baking powder, and a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. And now for the warm spice. 2 teaspoons of ground ginger and just fork everything together. Moving on, I tip 175 grams of soft light brown sugar into a large mixing bowl and crack over 2 eggs, then pour in 200 ml of vegetable oil. These just need to be mixed together. Then I gradually add the dry ingredients and stir until everything's combined. Into the bowl go my grated carrots, and I stir these in before adding the walnut pieces and then the golden chopped crystallized ginger. Once everything's combined, I dollop the mixture into a lined 20cm springform tin. I give it a good wrap on the counter to help level the batter. I bake it in the oven at 170 degrees for about 45 minutes. Then I leave it to cool before I start on the icing. Just as with the traditional carrot cake, I'm making a cream cheese icing. I start off with 100 grams of soft, unsalted butter and 100 grams of icing sugar. I'm going to beat these together. And now a teaspoon of corn flour. This helps the icing stay nice and thick. And I want 100 grams of cream cheese, but this has to be cold, straight from the fridge. And give it a little mix so it's combined. And this is no ordinary cream cheese icing because I want everything shot through with ginger. And I don't know if I've ever shown you my ginger juicing trick, but it's a crucial part of my cooking life. So coarsely grate some ginger out onto a plate. And what about a tablespoonful? And now, not pretty, but effective, a piece of kitchen paper. Moving swiftly, I don't want to get the paper soggy straight away. I draw up each corner, so I've got like a little swag bag and just press on, and you can see that juice coming out. I should get about a teaspoon of juice from a tablespoonful of coarsely grated ginger, and it is so intense. I do this all the time on soups and stews and curries and cakes. Right, let's give it a little stir together. And all that's left for me to do is swirl this on top of the cake. The thing about this cake, as I said, it's not a traditional carrot cake. It almost looks like a blonde fruit cake here, all rather lovely, lumpy and bumpy. And there's only one layer of icing, which I think is perfect. A generous layer. I've got a few more chopped walnuts and a little more crystallized ginger chopped up my sleeve, and these get scattered on top. Utterly gorgeous. Instant eat-me appeal, if you ask me. And even if you don't, pale gold sparkle. Oh, and it's an absolute winner every time. When I was in Kansas City a couple of years back, I went into a cafe there and had the most wonderful mini lemon bundt cakes. And Yes, I do take a photograph of everything I eat. Well, in fact, I ate a lot of them because I had very serious research to do. So when I got back home, I played with the recipe and came up with this. Starting off with 225 grams of plain flour, I add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder and half a teaspoon of bicarb, then finally, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And just fork them together. That's the dry ingredients done. And now into a batter jug goes 275 grams of coconut milk. I spoon the thick bit out first, then pour in the liquid. To this, I add 150 grams of caster sugar. I now need 150 ml of vegetable oil and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I finally grate in the fragrant zest of 2 lemons. I also need 3 tablespoons of juice, which is about 1 lemon's worth. Then I just stir to mix. And now it's just a matter of adding the wet ingredients to the dry. I do realise it all goes a bit greige at this point. I suppose if you're unused to making eggless cakes, you do miss the goldenness of the yolks. But do not fear. This is one sensational cake once it's baked. Pour the batter into a 20-centimetre springform tin and give it about 30 minutes in an oven at 180 degrees. The cake is baked and it can sit here calmly while I, equally serenely, get on with my blueberry compote. I've got 150 grams of blueberries and I want a tablespoon of caster sugar. And now the same amount of lemon juice. Gonna have to hope I don't get pips when I do this, because I'm squeezing straight onto the spoon. My lucky day. Finally into the pan before it goes on the heat, 50 ml of cold water. Let's give it a bit of a swirl to let the sugar dissolve. And now on the heat, so this needs to come to a bubble now, which won't take long. And these garnet glossy juices need to be thickened. And for that, I need some corn flour, a small amount, just 1.5 teaspoons. And exactly the same amount of cold water to slake it. The blueberries have started to soften now, so I don't need to cook them any further. I just need to thicken them, adding my corn flour and water. This will take the barest moment. And just like that, my beaded berry glaze is ready. Look at this, the colour of 1940s nail varnish and just as glossy. I'll leave this to cool and thicken and top the cake with it just at the very last moment. So, unclip the cake and turn it out here. And now, the unveiling. Before the compote goes on the cake, I'm going to slather it with this coconut milk yogurt. I've got 250 grams here. Such a cooling balm after the peppiness of the salsa spike curry. I need to add a couple of things. First, some vanilla, just 1 teaspoon. Stir that in quickly. Not too quickly. I love this. And then some icing sugar. I've got 2.5 teaspoons here. I'll push it through the tea strainer. Don't want any lumps. And now I shall spoon the sweetly vanilla-scented coconut milk yoghurt over the upended cake. And the yoghurt on it like this makes every mouthful taste even softer, lighter, and fluffier. If any yoghurt starts to creep down the side of the cake, don't worry about it. I mean, I think it looks rather charming. Now my compote, I'm going to thrash it a bit with a fork just to help it spread on. And then with this incredibly white yoghurt serving as a frame, I'm going to dollop this in the middle. It's all looking a bit 1970s, but I rather like that. This is where my emergency brownies come in. They don't take very long and you don't need very many ingredients, but what you end up with are 2 large fudgy squares to be snaffled still warm and squidgy, straight from the tin if need be. So when your knead is great, put 50 grams of soft unsalted butter into a pan, then sprinkle over 50 grams of soft light brown sugar. Add a tablespoonful of amber maple syrup, though you could always use golden syrup. Put it on a gentle heat and give it a stir every now and then. When it's all melted, take the pan off the heat. Add 3 tablespoons of cocoa to 3 tablespoons of plain flour already in a bowl, along with 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt flakes. Mix together, then stir them into the waiting saucepan. Crack an egg into a bowl, add a teaspoon of vanilla extract, then lightly whisk together. Then add this to the saucepan and stir again until everything is smoothly and glossily combined. Tip in 50 grams of chocolate chips and the same weight of walnut pieces and give everything a final stir. I always bake my emergency brownies in one of those little foil tins that looks like you've got takeaway food. Scrape every last bit of the nubbly fudgy batter into the tin and bake in an oven at 170 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes, by which time the top will be just set and the edges coming away from the tin. If at all possible, and I know it's a big ask, let the brownies stand out of the oven for 20 or 30 minutes before diving in. For pudding, I'm making chocolate mousse, but not chocolate mousse as you know it, but an Iberian-inspired chocolate olive oil mousse. I want 4 eggs, separated, so far so traditional. And I want the eggs at room temperature. Well, I nearly always do. And the last one. Before I whisk the whites, I'm just going to add a pinch of sea salt flakes. And here goes. I want firm peaks here. Let's see. Yes, perfect. And before I whisk the yolks, I want some sugar, just 50 grams. It's caster sugar. I want some salt, in here too. I suppose were I to measure, I'd say a quarter of a teaspoon of sea salt flakes. And it doesn't make it taste salty, it just brings balance. Somehow you taste the chocolate all the more. I want to whisk the yolks until they're thickened and about doubled in volume. That's the whites done, the yolks done, and now for the chocolate. I've got 150 grams there, melted and slightly cooled. And on top of the chocolate, I'm going to pour the olive oil. Extra virgin, 100 mils. I like a smooth and spicy olive oil, nothing too raspingly peppery. Mix these together. And the thing is, the olive oil doesn't just bring its resonant flavour, it also creates such a voluptuously smooth and soft texture. And now I'm going to pour this glossy mixture into the yolks. And a steady stream, that's the idea. This is really good bitter chocolate, 70%. Don't be tempted to go higher though, because you'll end up with a powdery texture. Right, I'm going to fold in the egg whites, a third at a time. And you can be really brutal with the first go. Stir it in. The first dollop really is just to make the rest of the egg whites easier to fold in. Right, so if I want this in thirds, it's half what's in the bowl now. And now, gently fold. The texture of this mousse is not super aerated as you would have in a traditional chocolate mousse, but I still don't want to beat out those bubbles. And the last bit. I know this seems very last minute, but unlike a traditional mousse, which needs to sit in the fridge for a good long time to set, the whole point of this chocolate olive oil mousse is that the texture isn't set, it's soft and smooth. So my chocolate mousse is made, but now for the difficult part. I have to fill these glasses. Just ignore me, because I'm going to have to concentrate. They're pretty small, these glasses. But believe me, and you know you can, you don't need anything bigger. This is fabulously rich. Right, last one. I like a little pause before pudding, which is good, as these need 20 minutes in the fridge before eating. A traditional plain-baked cheesecake is a force for good in the world, and I wouldn't begin to deny it. In fact, I can feel the weight of disapproval of several generations of Eastern European antecedents over the fact I have been making a cheesecake that is not baked, just left to set in the fridge, and moreover, it's got white chocolate in it, but I am neither repentant nor defensive, and why should I be when my white chocolate cheesecake is just that good? Instead of a regular digestive base, for this cheesecake, I used ginger nuts, and I put 175 grams of them in a sturdy freezer bag, seal, and bash them into crumbs with a rolling pin. Very satisfactory. I tip these into a bowl, pour over 50 grams of melted unsalted butter, and simply mix together with a fork. This damp, sandy mixture goes into a 20 centimetre springform tin. I press down on it to form the base, pushing up the sides a little. This now just needs to go into the fridge to firm up a bit. So the base is done and I'm going to get on with the filling, which starts with some cream cheese. I am going to be quite strict about this, which is the cream cheese must be full fat and it must be at room temperature. If you disobey on either count, you just won't get the requisite tongue-kissingly smooth texture. And that would be too much of a disappointment for any of us to bear. Now, I've got 200 grams of white chocolate that I've melted, and I just let it stand a bit so that it's cooler, but you can see it's still liquid. And this is white chocolate made for cooking with because it melts more easily. You can see it's flecked with vanilla. I'm going to give a gentle fold. It is an unorthodox way of making a cheesecake, I do admit. But I really think it's one of the best cheesecakes I've ever eaten. And all white chocolate haters are equally smitten. It really is as easy as 1, 2, 3, with 1 being the cream cheese, 2 being the white chocolate, and 3 being double cream. 300 mils of it, lightly whipped. I want it thickened but not holding its shape. That's perfect. In it goes. And a gentle fold yet again. Nothing very strenuous here. Now, I could stop there, but I won't. There's vanilla in the white chocolate as it is, but it's been blanketed somewhat by the double cream, so I'm going to add a little more, just a teaspoon. And although there is already a bit of tang from the cream cheese, I really think you need sharpness in a cheesecake. So I've got lemon juice, again, just a teaspoon. And then the last bit of folding. And the gingery base is ready. I'm going to softly dollop the white chocolate cheesecake filling on top. Just trying to smooth the top. And that's about as smooth as someone as clumsy and as impatient as me is going to get it. So this needs to set in the fridge. Now, I do love this plain and unadorned, but it is utterly gorgeous, sprinkled with tender green nibbed or else chopped pistachios. I make my pavlova base the night before. First, I whisk 6 larger egg whites until they form firm peaks. Then I very gradually add 375 grams of caster sugar. The key to getting a really thick, glossy meringue is to keep the whisk fast, but add the sugar really slowly. Once all the sugar's in and incorporated, I sprinkle over 2½ teaspoons of corn flour, 1/4 teaspoon of ready ground black pepper, the sort that comes in tubs, you know, school pepper. Then I add 2 teaspoons of white wine vinegar. Finally, and fragrantly, 1/2 teaspoon of rose water. And I gently fold in everything by hand. I draw a circle of roughly 22 centimetres onto a sheet of baking parchment. This is just to guide me as I dollop out the meringue. Once I've blobbed the meringue on the centre of my penciled circle, I use a small crank spatula to smooth the sides and top of this voluminous, snowy expanse. When the pavlova base is formed and looks a bit like the crown of a boater, it goes into an oven preheated to 180. But the moment it's in, I immediately turn it down to 150 and bake it for an hour. My pav base is completely cold now, which is just as well because it's time to get on with the strawberry topping. Now, I've cut these strawberries into 3 from top to bottom so you can still see their rather beautiful shape. There's 300 grams there. And although I often make a passion fruit pavlova, and it's one of my favourites, and I love the crunchiness of the seeds then, for this pav, I'm just using the juice. It not only heightens the flavour of the strawberries, much as using balsamic vinegar does, but it also brings that sour, sweet fragrance of its own. And last bit of ritual disemboweling coming up. Right, I'm going to pour the passion fruit juice over the strawberries, every last bit. Just 2 teaspoons of caster sugar. That mixture of sharpness and sweetness really sings. Right, I'm going to leave these to macerate while I whip the cream. I've got 300 mils of double cream in there, and I want it whipped until it's thick and airy, but still soft. I'm going to flip over the pavlova base. Et voila! Because, as ever, it's this wonderful, tender, marshmallowy side that I want hitting the cream when it goes on. Perfect. So I want a swirling mound, and don't ever worry about some cracks and splinters in the pav base. I want a few swirls and eddies to tumble my strawberries onto. And here are the strawberries now. You can see what the passion fruit juice has done. They're slick scarlet and glossy. Spoon these over. I love the way the juice has mixed some of the red of the strawberry and the golden of the passion fruit and is now a gleaming coral. And now I want some of this coral juice to run down the sides in scented rivulets. I could fall headlong into this so happily, but better not. I need to get on with the cake ahead of time. I want 4 large eggs and 125 grams of caster sugar, and I whisk these together. This is a flourless cake made with ground almonds. I need 75 grams, and then 2 tablespoons of cocoa. I just fork to mix. Meanwhile, my eggs and sugar should be thick and moussey and at least doubled in volume. Then I slowly add the almond and cocoa mixture. I add 3 tablespoons of amaretto liqueur to melted dark chocolate and butter, 100 grams of each, slightly cooled in a bowl. Whisking gently now, I pour this in a slow and steady stream into the batter. The combination of ground almonds and amaretto give this rich chocolate cake a marzipan-y depth. When I've got what looks like a billowy chocolate mousse, I pour and scrape it into a lined 20cm spring-form tin. This needs 20 to 25 minutes in an oven preheated to 180 degrees. So you can see why I call this my Sunken chocolate amaretto cake, and it leaves a rather pretty frill around the outside. And I'm going to give this rich, squidgy-bellied cake a velvety dusting of cocoa. I want it thickly covered like a bitter chocolate truffle. And underneath this powdery Aztec brown, its interior is dense and dark. Now, actually, this cake is a twofold pleasure, because with it comes my amaretti cream. I've got 250 mils of double cream here, and I'm going to add a slug of amber amaretto liqueur, answering the sweet song of the cake. I'm going to whip this until it's thickened but still soft and floppy. It doesn't take very long. When I call this amaretti cream, I meant amaretti cream, not amaretto, because I'm now going to add some crumbled amaretti biscuits. Just crumble them in. Like the cake, they seem to have that balance of bitterness and marzipan-y sweetness. I'm going to fold these in, and the cream will thicken a bit more as I fold. They add an almost honeycomb crunch to the smoothness of the soft cream. And that's exactly right. I'm going to fill up an old favourite of mine. And before I take this to the table, I'm just going to add one final golden crumble. Right.
Wow.
That's the sound I want to hear. It's very eager. That's a good thing. I didn't mean to sound at all critical. Oh, you're putting it on top. That's radical. It's beautiful. That's it. Yeah, I think Claire's got a future as everything, huh?
Do you know where you're going to put them now?
Oh, yeah, go on.
One on top, everyone on top. Come on.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Look at that.
Very good. Excellent. First, I'm getting in. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm getting so excited.
I like green.
Yeah, they're cream.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the cream really makes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cream
I
is...
mean, I love the cake, but I think it's with the cream that
Could you make an amaretto ice cream?
we can make anything we want.
Yeah, with the crumbs.
First off, I scoop the pulp, seeds and all, out of 4 passion fruit. Then I whisk 300 mils of double cream until thickened but not stiff. When I'm happy with the consistency of the whipped cream, I add the fragrant passion fruit. Now I pour in 4 teaspoons of orange liqueur, which seems to bring out the flavour of the passion fruit so well. Then I very enjoyably crumble in 8 shop-bought meringue nests. I want a mixture of small pieces and sugary dust. Then I gently fold everything together. Spoon this mixture into a loaf tin, drapingly lined with cling film, pressing down on it as you go. Then wrap the tin well before putting it in the freezer overnight. And that's all there is to it. My passion fruit ice cream cake has a partner in crime, and that just happens to be a rather fabulous coconut caramel sauce. And for that, I need 50 grams of soft unsalted butter, and then 50 grams of caster sugar. And 50 grams also of soft light brown sugar. And finally, about the same weight of golden syrup. Come on, baby. Let this melt now. Gonna give it a little swirl just to help matters along. Just gonna give it a little stir to make sure there are no lumps. And if I can leave it alone for a moment, I'm gonna let it come to a simmer. It is bubbling away here like honeycomb. Get it off the hob just for a moment. And into this cauldron of bubbling caramel, I'm going to add 250 millilitres of coconut cream. Let's give it a bit of a swirl. Don't worry if it doesn't look very smooth at this stage. All will come good. Better than good. So back on the heat. Now it's come to a bubble, and as you can see, it sort of spurts and pops like one of those dancing fountains that children just love running through and getting drenched. Once this is done, I will pour it into a jug, and then it can cool. And I'm ready to slice the ice. So you can see why I added this overhang. I can just lift the ice cream cake out. I normally don't go in for individual plating, but this ice cream is so dreamy and soft, and I don't want it to start melting. So I treat it as a bit of a cut and come again number. There we are. So first cut, you know the rest. It has almost an Italian semi-freddo texture. And the rest I can wrap up and stash in the freezer for greedy people. And I'm going to drizzle on the coconut caramel now, just a little bit, because there'll be plenty more on the table for people to help themselves. That's perfect. I don't think it matters whether it goes on thinly or thickly. Covering myself because obviously uniformity is not one of my strengths. Right, layer done, and I don't need this now, so... I'm not silver service, so I can't take them all on my arm, so 2 for now, and I'll be back for the rest and my wine. To make my waffle batter, I start off with 3 eggs. Whites here, and yolks in here. To the yolks, I'm going to add 450 ml of full-fat milk. A splosh vanilla. And 125 ml of vegetable oil. So much easier than using butter, because you know, when you use butter, you have to melt it and then let it cool down a bit. And this is just faster, and it makes the waffles so crisp. And that's what I want from a waffle, really crisp on the outside and light and fluffy on the inside. Just a regular whisk here. Teeny little mix together so it's combined. Now I can move on to the dry ingredients. I start with 225 grams of plain flour, followed by 3 tablespoons, that's 45 grams, of caster sugar. Then a pinch of salt and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Then I just fork everything together. And now it's just a case of pouring the wet ingredients into the dry. This flat whisk could make sure there aren't lumps. Don't want to beat too fast or to splash myself. And anyway, going slowly, it's rather peaceful in the morning. But now I'm going to rupture the calm by whisking the egg whites. I want them to get to firm peaks. It's not that noisy. I said it's not that noisy. Time for some gentle folding. So these fluffy clouds will get absorbed into the primrose batter. Looks like a sea of marshmallow. Just the last bit of white. So same again, just making sure, if at all humanly possible, that there aren't any streaks of white left in the batter at the end. Perfect. This is just what I want from a waffle batter. Thick, smooth and airy, and it's those bubbles that make these waffles so celestially light. Right, I'm going to move along the bus and heat my waffle irons. Just a couple of minutes. I know there's a lot of batter, but I've always found there are a lot of takers for these. And actually what I like to do as well is make all the waffles up and then freeze them and reheat them in the oven from frozen whenever I feel the need. And I can tell you there is often a need. An American cup measure is my tool of choice here, and one to be dribbled over this iron. And then speedily, I'm gonna see if I can manage this. More dexterous than I thought. That just needs a minute. I'm gonna go and get my plate. Okay, ready to turn. And I actually almost forgot my blueberries. That would not be a good thing. And now for the moment of truth. Beautiful. All in its golden glory. I'm going to ease this out first. Over here, my beauties. crumble in a few blueberries. And so important, because it's got those pockets waiting for it, the syrup. A quiet morning in the garden with Waffles. What better way to start the weekend?